There is no citizenship requirement to avail oneself of the protections of the Constitution. Most political policies, most laws will confer benefits only on American citizens. So the right to vote is something that's available only to American citizens, not legal residents. Or, as we've learned to our collective chagrin over the past week and a half, if you want to be president, you have to be a US-born citizen. That's a right conferred only on citizens. Or numerous government assistance programs are available only to citizens. Lots of political policies are available only to citizens. That is not true of the Constitution. There are a couple of provisions in the Constitution that do confine the rights to US citizens and say so explicitly. So the right to vote is one, the ability to become president is another. But by and large, none of the provisions of the Constitution, none of the civil liberties confine themselves to American citizens. Some of them talk just generally about persons, not citizens, persons. So as I cited before, the Fifth Amendment, no person, not no citizen, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. But most of the amendments in the Constitution and most of the Bill of Rights don't talk about the group of people to whom the right is vested. It talks about the restrictions on government, because that really is what the Constitution is. The Constitution doesn't single out groups of people, US citizens, non-citizens, legal residents, and confers them with rights. We think about that all the time. People love to say, my constitutional rights are being violated. That isn't really how the Constitution functions. What the Constitution does is not vest rights to a certain finite group of people. What it does is it imposes prohibitions on the behavior of the US government, period, whether they're acting towards American citizens or towards non-citizens. Now, that is a view that most people don't think is true, or if they hear it, they'll think it's some sort of radical far leftist doctrine. The reality is it's been settled law for over a century in the United States. There was a case in the mid-late 1800s, very interesting, where a Chinese immigrant had his property basically taken by the city council because they wanted it for some other project. He had a laundromat, actually. And he sued and said that his property was being deprived without due process of law, and there was no just compensation being offered under the eminent domain clause. And this position of the city council in San Francisco was, he has no right to raise constitutional issues. He's not even a citizen. And the Supreme Court unanimously said that that isn't how the Constitution works. You don't need to be a citizen in order to raise constitutional issues. The Constitution is there to bar the government from doing things exactly like this. And so it's been long settled that the Constitution applies to two groups of people. It applies to American citizens, no matter where you are in the world, on US soil or foreign soil. The US government is equally restricted from what it can do to you. And it applies to foreign nationals who are legally under the authority of the United States. So foreign nationals who are here legally and on American soil, detainees at Guantanamo under American authority, the Supreme Court said, have the right to avail themselves of the Constitution. And the reason people don't know this is because politicians lie about it all the time. So if you listen to the debates about whether or not Guantanamo detainees should be able to be transferred to US soil and have trials here, what you'll hear almost every politician in both parties say, this is what they'll say. They'll say, I don't think that terrorists should be given the same rights that the Constitution gives to American citizens. Aside from the fact that when they say terrorist, what they really mean is accused terrorist. You know, the whole thing, no person shall be deprived of liberty without due process of law. There's that little thing getting in the way. But the idea that the Constitution imposes or vests rights only to US citizens is just pure ignorance. It's just propaganda and deceit, and yet it's said all the time. And all you have to do is look at the Constitution to see how false that is. Most laws do target US citizens for benefits. The Constitution doesn't.